One thing that is very, truly, absolutely, critically upsetting to me is what I perceive to be indifference that seems to be saturating this country. Or maybe it's just because we are also overwhelmed. We don't know what to do. But to me, it has a stench of indifference, which is also, or often I should say, described as the opposite of love or faith. I've even seen it described as the opposite of life itself, rather than hate. And as it has been said, indifference is a very powerful force that can render things meaningless. And it is rightly, in my opinion, seen as a very dangerous state of being because it often benefits those who cause harm, such as the toilet rat and every filthy son of a bitch who works for him. The indifference of the toilet rat's administration toward human life should shock exactly no one at this point. So says Daily Kos. It's something they posted yesterday. And it shouldn't shock us that this indifference exists with the toilet rat and every filthy fucking Nazi wannabe who works for him. Because, first of all, the deliberate destruction of those government agencies whose sole purpose is to provide aid, health, welfare, well-being of American citizens, just that destruction speaks for itself. But if an outside observer, really wanted an example of just how far and how fast this nation, the United States, has fallen. This fucking slob son of a bitch Trump has been in office, 5 months, 6 months? Well, if you want further proof, how about the conscious abandonment of any semblance of concern for people in desperate need of just the essentials of life in the world? Because the toilet rat and his filthy goddamn government has dismantled the organization known as USAID. And that dismantlement, if you need something to wrap an indictment around, there it is. But as Kos points out, nothing more clearly reveals that abandonment. And remember, we're a Christian nation. Just ask the evangelicals. Yes, we are. Nothing reveals that filth more clearly than the dismal spectacle of this nation, United States, literally burning food intended to feed starving and malnourished children. This was first reported by The Atlantic. A writer there, Hannah Kiros, this is what she wrote, quote, 5 months into an unprecedented dismantling of foreign aid programs, the Trump administration has given the order to incinerate food instead of sending it to people abroad who need it. Nearly 500 metric tons of emergency food, enough to feed about 1.5 million children for a week, are set to expire tomorrow, according to current and former government employees with direct knowledge of all this. Within weeks, the writer goes on, 2 of those sources told her the food meant for children in Afghanistan and Pakistan will be ash. The writer, Hannah Kiros, adds, the sources I spoke with for this story requested anonymity for fear of professional repercussions. So it's not just the children of Gaza or Ukraine, is it? under the toilet rat, under this Christian nation, children are to be killed. They are to be massacred. They are to be slaughtered. They are to be destroyed. And as Ms. Karos reports, 500 metric tons of high-energy biscuits are currently sitting in a warehouse in Dubai. They were purchased by USAID toward the end of the Biden administration for distribution through the World Food Program. Back in BT, before Trump, when this country, the U.S., and the people in government still tried to demonstrate human decency as well as competence. Those days are gone. Can you imagine this little fucker, Stephen Miller, or this gruesome werewolf, Ketchup Patel, or this monstrous Nazi Tom Holman, or Miss Puffy Lips? Can you imagine any of them showing anything even remotely identifiable as decency or competence? No. If you're a rational human being, you cannot. Now, the federal workers who are still employed by USAID said that they had requested approval from the Trump administration on several occasions to please hand off this food for distribution. It's been gathered. It's paid for. It's sitting in a fucking warehouse in Dubai. It's here. And according to Hannah Karos's reporting in The Atlantic, this approval is now required ever since this jumping jack South African Nazi, Musk's Doge, dismantled USAID, and the agency was absorbed into Marco Polo Rubio's State Department. Karos also wrote this, quote, from January to mid-April, the responsibility rested with Pete Morocco, who worked across multiple agencies during the first Trump administration. Then it passed to Jeremy Lewin, a law school graduate in his 20s, who was originally installed by Doge and now has appointments at both USAID and the State Department. 2 of the USAID employees told me that staffers who sent the memos requesting approval to move the food never got a response and did not know whether Morocco or Lewin ever received them. The State Department did not answer my questions about why the food was never distributed. And this is little Marco Polo Rubio, a good Christian. Oh, isn't he? So, you could say, as is reported in this piece at Daily Kos, that it's not clear whether this failure to approve this food distribution is due to incompetence or willful, malignant neglect or indifference, or perhaps all three. And according to Hannah Karos, despite assurances in March from Rubio that food aid would continue, the order to incinerate this food had already been issued at that time. And even though the State Department has ordered a halt to food aid shipments to Afghanistan and Yemen on the grounds that the food could benefit terrorists, Ms. Karos notes that no similar justification has been applied to Pakistan. But that's where this food was designed to go, Pakistan and Afghanistan, 2 children. And Karos also observed that even if such an excuse were justifiable, the food aid could have been sent to Sudan or other countries with a starving child population. But no. Why feed starving children in shithole countries, right, Trump? You fucking monster, you. You senile bastard, you. This is just, I mean, I know you're not indifferent, and you know I'm not indifferent to this shit, but what do we do about it? What in the name of anything that these Christian devils consider to be holy, what do we do about it? How do they do this? When their own phony-ass Messiah told them about the children, let the children come to me because such is the kingdom of heaven. They do not give a goddamn about whatever their phony Messiah said. They left that a long time ago. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. The Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.